Welcome back to the CBJ show. We're here for episode 21. It's been a year since the COVID-19 pandemic has taken over the United States and many other countries. But back in this episode, we do have sports a year from that day. And we're going with a quick NBA All-Star recap, and then we're going to shift over to the NFL, talking about some free agency moves. Some have actually already happened, even though free agency hasn't officially started. Some trades that went down, some signings, some cuts, franchise tags have been placed, and there's a lot going on there, and we're gonna get coverage of that. But of course, we're starting off with the NBA All Star recap. It's gonna be pretty brief here. We're gonna have we're going to go over the All Star game, the skills challenge, 3-point contest, and slam dunk contest. So, Brandon, take it away with the NBA All Star recap.
Yeah, and as Jason mentioned, it's been a year since March 11th, the day the NBA shut down, along with all the other sports. I can remember that day when getting the alert about Rudy Gobert testing positive, and crazy what's happened in a year. And even though we're still in a pandemic, the NBA All Star game still did happen. It was different. Instead of a weekend long events, they turned it into one day. So the skills, the 3-point contest, the dunk, and the game all played in one day to reduce COVID. And no one in Atlanta tested positive. Players, coaches, staff, anyone that was there, everyone reported negative. So that was good. Uh, Team LeBron won the game. They had a massive second quarter, scoring 60 points, and uh, they just cruised on for the second half, and they won by the score 170 to 150. Damian Lillard hit the game-winning three, not just from the three-point line, but he hit it from half court. Cam, I'm going to start with you. Thoughts on how this game went, and were you surprised Team LeBron won?
I mean, my opinion on the All Star game, it's kind of a pointless game, but it's really fun to watch. I mean, seeing Steph and Dame hitting half court shots all over the place, and Steph turning around on the threes, it was a very entertaining game to watch with all the dunks and all the shooting and crazy stuff going on. And I'm really not surprised Team LeBron won. I mean, his team was stacked. He had all the best players, and they're all stars. They're all the best players. But I'm really not surprised Team LeBron won. He clearly had some of the better players on his team, and overall, I think the game went really well. It was super fun to watch, very entertaining, and even the skills competition, 3-point, even in the dunk contest, even those were all great to watch. So I think the NBA did a great job with the All Star game, even though the NHL isn't doing an All Star game due to COVID because they want to keep the team separated still. But I think the NBA did very well and it was very exciting to watch.
Yeah, I think Team LeBron was easily the favorite going into the game, and they obviously came up on top, winning by 20. Um, I do feel like that Team Durant, they were missing a lot of pieces due to injury because they would have gotten Anthony Davis on their team. KD would have drafted AD if he wasn't injured, and Kevin Durant himself was also hurt, so he could have been there. And also, he drafted Devin Booker pretty high in the reserves, and he was actually an injury replacement for Anthony Davis. And then he got replaced by Mike Conley. No disrespect to Mike Conley, but like you don't want to draft Mike Conley in the second round of the reserves in the All Star draft. So that ended up being a big mistake. And then on the day of the All Star game, Joel Embiid got ruled out because he was a close contact. Same with Ben Simmons for Team LeBron. That was the only guy ruled out. But I do think Team Durant, if they had all those healthy pieces, the game would have been a bit closer. But I mean, a starting five of LeBron, Luka, Steph, Giannis, and Jokic with Dame and some other guys who can launch it from the logo off the bench, that's pretty much unstoppable. I mean, no disrespect to Team Durant. They had some great players. It's great to see Jason Tatum get his first career All Star start. And even Zion, he got into the All Star starters because Joel Embiid was out. But pretty happy with how the All Star game went. And then, like Cam mentioned about the dunk contest, it wasn't the best one we've seen this year. The participants were, I mean, people know who those players are, but like they're not known for really dunking that much. And I wasn't. It actually was better than I expected, but I mean, it obviously could have been better. But they want to limit the amount of people that go there because. But next year, I'm hoping that we do see Zion Williamson in the dunk contest because that would be pretty crazy. Um, and Brandon, I'll hand off to you. Talk about the other skills challenges.
Yeah, the dunk contest was different. They didn't. They had. We didn't see too many people participate in a lot of the skills competitions due to COVID. Most people that were in the competitions also were in the game. But moving aside for 1 second, the NBA, after legendary player Kobe Bryant died last year before the All-Star game happened, they had a new format for how the fourth quarter went. So instead of just a regular 12-minute quarter, they changed it so no shot clock, and whoever was leading, they added 24 in honor of Kobe. 24 points to the leading team, and this year the target score was 170, and like I mentioned, it was Damian Lillard hitting that game winner. I'm going to start with Jason this time. Do you like the new format for the fourth quarter? And if you don't, what would you change about it?
I do like the format. It was great to honor Kobe these past 2 years. And they've made so many changes to honor Kobe, which is great. Like even they named the All-Star MVP the Kobe Bryant MVP. And now we have two winners so far of the Kobe Bryant All-Star Game MVP. Last year Kawhi, this year Giannis. Um, and I think it's great to name that trophy after them. And then the rule, I felt like the game was a lot more laid back in the first, second, and third quarter because yes, it is time, but like those quarters were mainly for like donating. The winner would donate like 150K or something like that to like an organization. I know like the All-Star Weekend is sponsored by the HBCUs, the historically Black colleges and universities. And it was great that they had those sponsors there. And it felt a little bit more laid back in the first, second, and third quarter to me personally. I feel like I still got the All-Star vibe because they were throwing lobs, shooting half-court shots. Like that's what you picture when you think of an All-Star game. But the fourth quarter, that's where it all goes down. This new Kobe rule because people are actually trying to play defense now. Last year they did a lot better that because we saw them going to the replay shot did the Giannis goaltend LeBron in that clutch play, or did LeBron actually score that or Giannis block it. Like they were reviewing like crazy. People are clamping people up, the best of the best, playing competitive basketball and not just lobbing and shooting threes from the logo, which you do love to see. And there were injuries this year, like I mentioned with Team Durant, a lot of those guys could have been there. And of course, guys that have been out for the year, like Klay Thompson, he always makes the All-Star games more fun. And guys who were injured for part of the year that make the All-Star game, so especially like Russell Westbrook, it's so hard to picture All-Star games without Russell Westbrook because it's always what he loves to do. He loves participating in those All-Star games. But it was different. I love the Mamba rule adding 24 to the target score.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Jason. I think the fourth quarter they done a great job of that as well. You said Arden Kobe. The fourth quarter definitely makes them more exciting. Who's gonna win? Obviously, this year wasn't really much of a competition as Team LeBron was already up by 20 points on Team Durant, but I think it's a great job what they've done to honor Kobe, and the fourth quarter definitely makes it a little more exciting. As like you said, the first three quarters definitely not as competitive basketball as you normally see. They're all just messing around, having fun, doing crazy shots and tricks and all type of things. But the fourth quarter gets a little more locked in and dialed in. So I like the change in the fourth quarter. I think the players like it as well, and I think it's a great addition to the All Star game.
I would have to agree on that. I think seeing players trying a little bit more during the All Star game is definitely a little bit exciting. Although seeing all those dunks, half court shots are fun, but um, moving on, we're going to talk about the skills competitions, the actual skills competition with the dribbling, the passing, the shooting, layup. We had Domantas Sabonis win participants in that was Luka Doncic, Chris Paul, Domantas Sabonis, Nikola Vucevic, Julius Randle, and Robert Covington. In the 3-point contest, we had Steph Curry, Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown, Zach LaVine, and Mike Conley replacing Devin Booker. And probably was one of the most exciting competitions. It came down to the money ball. First round, Curry hit 31, which is the new record for 3-point contest. But it was the second round in the finals. Conley 27 and Curry 20 with that money ball. Jason, how did you like that 3-point contest, and what was going through your mind during it?
I mean, for me, when I was thinking about it going into it, Steph Curry was my favorite going into it, but I really wanted to see a Jason Tatum versus Jaylen Brown in the finals because the Celtics fan bias is there. But Brandon and I were actually texting a bit during the All-Star game, and I love what you took from TNT. They said Steph Curry was like a video game. That was a great analogy. I think that's very true. Steph Curry was shooting lights out. He had a rough start in that second round to the in that 3-point contest, but once he got into that second rack, he was shooting lights out. Nobody could stop him. He was in the zone. And it's just greatness before your eyes. It's the greatest shooter of all time, right there, and very well deserving. But big shout out to Mike Conley. We've never really seen a lefty go that far into a 3-point contest, and that's something I really like seeing. And if Devin Booker was there, I'm sure he'd probably make his way into the finals because, to be honest, I don't think Jason Tatum would have made it if Devin Booker was there. But it's great to see the other guys like Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, Zach LaVine, and I was happy with that. And then you mentioned the skills challenge. I thought Luka was gonna put on a show, but Luka was so lazy, and he had his warm up clothes on. He was jogging, Sabonis was just locked in, drilling his shots, making the right passes, and the dribbling. And Luka Doncic and Chris Paul, they got the buys, and in the bracket, since there was only 6 participants this year, they both lost in that first round. And then Vucevic, another All-Star along with Sabonis, they were both able to compete in the finals, and Sabonis got that final shot for the win. So those 2 contests are pretty good, way better than the dunk contest. The dunk contest wasn't bad at all, it just wasn't great.
Yeah, I agree with Jason. The 3-point contest was very exciting to watch. Steph Curry hitting that buzzer beater to win it on his final shot. 3-point contest was definitely my favorite out of the skills. And the dunk contest, like you said, the dunk contest, it wasn't great, but it was still pretty good. It was pretty interesting to see. But yeah, in the skills competition, I mean, Luka dogged it. He didn't even try. If he was the favorite, I think everyone thinks and knows that he probably should have won that. But yeah, Luka wasn't really having it. He kind of was just having fun, messing around. Kind of let Sabonis get the dub there and win. And then Chris Paul also, he tried a little harder than Luka did, but still didn't do the best he probably could have done. So I think skills competition was, kind of slightly came out as the way as no one really thought it would. But it's all fun and games for these players. They're just having fun. Good for Domantas Sabonis, but I think we all know Luka or Chris Paul probably should have won that. But hands up to them. They did a great job. And Steph Curry, like you said, he is a video game. He's the best shooter I've ever seen. Some could compare him to Larry Bird. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a debate one time, Curry or Larry Bird. We'll see. But yeah, I think the competitions went well, and it was fun to watch for sure. Brandon, back to you.
Yeah, I think we all agreed that 3-point contest was really enjoyable. And if you remember last year, Domantas Sabonis lost in the finals to Bam Adebayo. So winning that this year, probably a little more incentive to win than some of the other players. Moving on from the All-Star game into transactions, we've had the Detroit Pistons have lost 2 key players, one in a trade, and with the Knicks receiving Derrick Rose and the Pistons receiving Dennis Smith Jr. in a 2021 second-round draft pick. Former MVP Derrick Rose being traded from Detroit to New York. Detroit, I think maybe they're rebuilding with that draft pick. Saddiq Bey, we know he's been good. And the other news with the Pistons was Blake Griffin signing a deal with the Brooklyn Nets. Yes, you've heard it right. The Brooklyn Nets literally have a four-headed monster with KD, Harden, Kyrie, and Blake Griffin. And if you want to include DeAndre Jordan in that Nets team is scary once they're all healthy. Nets, DeMarcus Cousins, he was waived by the Rockets. PJ Tucker as well, probably going to leave the Rockets. And interesting here is Andre Drummond, who came from Detroit to Cleveland last year in a midseason trade. Drummond's looking to trade out of Cleveland, and teams are the Raptors, Celtics, Hornets, and Nets, and Lakers. Those are the top targets. And lastly, LaMarcus Aldridge being held out by the Spurs. He'll likely be a trade contender. Jason, I want to ask you the list of players and trade rumors. Who do you think in the NBA is getting traded before the trade during the trade deadline?
Well, I think that both Drummond and Aldridge will get dealt. For me, Aldridge, the perfect fit for him would be the Miami Heat, just to get onto a contender. If maybe deal Kelly Olynyk over to the Spurs, because at this point, LaMarcus Aldridge is like in his mid-30s, close to LeBron's age, in fact. So he's pretty old. He needs to go on a contender if he wants to, win something. He came to San Antonio at the end of Tim Duncan's and Tony Parker's career, and that was a little bit before Kawhi Leonard got traded to the Raptors in 2018. So I'd like to see LaMarcus Aldridge go to contender because, I mean, his career, he's a great talent. He even made the All-Star game in 2019, and we've seen a little bit of regression. He had to get out of Portland because it was Dame time there, as we knew. And I think he needs to go to contender. And then for Andre Drummond, I'm kind of surprised that the Cavs are doing this. They seem really committed to Jarrett Allen, who they got in the James Harden trade, as their franchise center, which is fine with me. But you have to play Andre Drummond a bit more. Andre Drummond is a special talent. He's a rebound machine. Some say he's the best rebounder in the league. I think he is. And the fact that you're holding out someone who made the All-Star game so recently is kind of disrespectful. And he's making close to $30 million a year. And I just feel like his value is going so much down. I mean, I haven't really watched Cavs games, so if Cavs fans want to object and say Drummond's not playing well, go for it. But I think Drummond is a very valuable piece to any team offensively and defensively. He was one of the best defenders in the league last season, both on interior getting blocks, and he was also a good perimeter defender, getting lots of steals. So I'd love to see Andre Drummond go to a contender. The Raptors have, of course, been the name mainly attached to him, but the Celtics can pull through and get him, or maybe even Nikola Vucevic, who's been in rumors. I like to see him. And also a lot of other names going to trade rumors, like Jeremy Grant from the Pistons, who's having a breakout year. He's actually probably my most improved pick. He's averaging close to 23 a game, and I'm sure Boston would love to have another 20-point per game scorer there. So I think the top candidate to get traded at the trade line, the biggest piece that's going to get traded is Andre Drummond, but I think the biggest championship move will be a LaMarcus Aldridge trade.
Yeah, those are some good points you got there, Jason. But I'm going to talk about this Derrick Rose to the Brooklyn Nets, and I think it's pretty clear. If you're not a Nets fan or from Brooklyn, you hate what the Nets are doing, and you hate seeing this. I mean, I don't think anyone wants Brooklyn to win unless they're unless they're a Nets fan. I mean, with KD, Kyrie, now Blake Griffin, and Durant, I mean, this team is stacked. They have everything they need. Guys are just going there. Some could argue they're doing it the wrong way, and they're doing it the easy way. They're taking the easy way out. But I mean, I don't think anyone wants to see the Nets win. I know I certainly don't. As a Celtics fan, if it's Lakers versus Nets in the finals, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I don't know who I'm gonna root for. I might want the Lakers to win, but I don't know. Definitely don't like to see it. The Nets are certainly gonna be good. This is definitely gonna help them. They got a stacked starting lineup now with those four players, and it's gonna be tough to see them do good because they're taking the easy way out, just getting all these players going right in. So we'll see how they do, but I don't think anyone really likes seeing that unless you're a Brooklyn fan.
I'm actually gonna talk about a player that has not been mentioned a lot, and this is New Orleans Pelicans guard JJ Redick. JJ Redick, he posts up some 20 plus point games some days. Some days he's better than others. Looking from the stats, it's a lot of Lonzo and Zion getting the points, but JJ Redick is a good player, and I think this was a player that the Celtics had targeted since mid-January. And in the meeting with the Celtics and Pelicans last month, he was really good until he got ejected. And I think he may be a player that the Celtics want to target if players like Drummond and Vucevic don't come to them. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Jason. I'm done and heading on to NFL.
Yes, we have an NFL, we have major discussions going on. A lot to talk about, but first we're going to go into our first major topic. The pre-free agency signings have actually happened. We've seen some minor ones like the Dwayne Haskins to the Steelers a few months, or actually not a few months, maybe a month ago. That happened really early. This past week, the Texans making moves. They picked up Mark Ingram and Christian Kirksey after releasing their superstar JJ Watt. We'll get into where he went in just a moment. They released Duke Johnson and their center. I do not know his name off the top of my head, but he was a great center for them. But first off, we're talking about the New England Patriots. Big news. We have very mixed feelings on this. Cam Newton returning to the New England Patriots. 1 year, he can earn up to $14 million. It's $5 million guaranteed, but $9 million in incentives in this 1 year contract. So, as a Pats fan, are you feeling good about this signing or no? What do you think about this, Cam?
I mean, like you said, there's very mixed feelings. I do not think there's very mixed feelings. From what I know, nobody likes this deal. $14 million for Cam Newton. Do we see the way he played last year? Overthrowing passes, so many interceptions. Dak Prescott had more touchdowns than him. He was out for over half of the year. Cam Newton does not deserve to get paid $14 million. Yes, it's only $5 million guaranteed. That's how much he got paid last year with $9 million in incentives. I did not want to see Cam Newton return to New England. I wanted to see them draft someone, bring someone back, bring someone in, Jimmy G, Deshaun, anyone if they could, draft someone. I'd rather see Stidham than Cam. I've heard people saying that, if they bring in Cam Newton, maybe I've heard there's possibilities. They're still looking to maybe get another QB and bring Jimmy G back or draft someone. But if you're gonna draft someone to give them Cam for Cam to help him out, why are you paying Cam possibly $14 million? Like, why are you giving him that much money? I think for that reason, that does make Cam the QB1 going into September for the high salary he can possibly earn. I still possibly expect them to draft a QB maybe in a later round now. I don't think they're going to be looking to trade up and go from it anymore, even though I still hope they do. I do not like the signing the Patriots made. They have so much cap, so much potential they can do with all the free agents and people like signing. They can bring back Van Noy, get Malcolm Butler back, bring in Hunter Henry or Kyle Rudolph, draft someone. But no, they go out to spend $14 million on this scrub Cam Newton, who's no longer what he is anymore. I'll give it over to you, Brandon, see if you have any different thoughts than I do. But I definitely do not like what the Patriots just did with this signing Cam.
Well, I'm actually on the opposite train. I'm going the other way, and I actually like this deal, and I'll tell you why. He's only $5 million cap. The Patriots still have $61 million in cap. That's so much money for Bill Belichick to go out and get some of these big guys, like Kim mentioned, Hunter Henry, Kenny Golladay, and yes, $14 million is a lot, but no, Cam Newton is not my QB1 right now. There is still so much time to get another QB. If it's Deshaun Watson, if it's Jimmy Garoppolo, if it's a draft pick, I would not be mad about getting Jimmy G. Jimmy G had some injuries last year. He can play about maybe 2/3 of the season, and you got Cam. You're only paying him $5 million of cap. He can fill in for the 1/3 that Jimmy G is injured for. I think that would be the best option. And on a different note, the defense can mention this about bringing back Kyle Van Noy, Malcolm Butler. Yes, I would love them, but the Patriots are getting some reinforcements for 2020 COVID opt-outs. Dante Hightower, Marcus Cannon. Yes, he's offensive tackle, but we've got Hightower. He's good. The Patriots had one of the top defenses last year, and that was without Hightower and some of the other COVID opt-outs. I think offense is what they need to work on right now. Jason?
Okay, so when I first saw this deal, I mean, this is something that we've all been saying even since the beginning, or even like in the middle of last season, when we saw that Cam Newton could not, clutch up and win a football game. Um, Cam can be good as long as he has weapons. Now, I'd love to see that if that could happen because with the Patriots cap space right now, yes, it's only 5 million guaranteed, so they should have a decent amount to bring in some good receivers, tight ends, and maybe even draft someone. But it's going to be hard to, recruit people because who wants to go to Foxborough, Massachusetts to play football? That's very hard to convince people. Like people would rather go to Tampa Bay to play where it's warm or like Miami, Jacksonville, anywhere there. It's going to be very hard for Bill Belichick to recruit people because Bill Belichick has not been great as a GM. We know he's the greatest coach of all time. But he's taking a lot of GM duties and he's been pretty bad with that stuff. But bringing back Cam, I'm actually a big Cam Newton fan, but like the thing is, for Cam Newton, he's shown that he cannot win a football game, like I mentioned before. He cannot be the QB1 of the future. I would say give him one more year because yes, it was a COVID year last year. You can make all the excuses you want, but this year, if Cam Newton starts the year off like with a losing record with through the first 5 games, bench him, gone. And I think Cam Newton's not even guaranteed a starting spot when we go into training camp because he's gonna look at Jarrett Stidham. I know Belichick is not a fan of Jarrett Stidham. I feel like Belichick, he didn't really like Cam. He more just hated Stidham. It could be the opposite. We don't know. But for me, Cam, you have to prove yourself because I'm not giving you many chances. I love you as a player, as an individual. You're a great quarterback, but just prove yourself. And if we draft a QB, I'd rather have the rookie QB start over Cam Newton, but he'll be a solid backup, but just overpaid.
Yeah, I agree with Jason. I think Jason has some good points there. Like, obviously, I want to see Cam do well. I hope he does well. But you said, like Brandon said, possibly bring in Jimmy G or Deshaun Watson to still do that. I would love to see them bring one of those in. But if you're offering one guy $14 million, how are you going to be able to pay one of those two guys as well? Baker Mayfield, the Browns quarterback, who made it to deep in the playoffs, bringing the Browns to the playoffs, and they haven't been there in how many years? I don't know, like 30 plus years. He doesn't even make $14 million. He makes under that. And he's a starting quarterback way better than Cam Newton. So I don't know how you're supposed to do anything when you're offering this guy $14 million. I don't know how you can't start him unless you're bringing some rookie quarterback that wins out in preseason training camp and looks better than Cam. I want Cam to succeed. But anyways, we'll move on to our next topic. We have Dak Prescott signing with the Dallas Cowboys, a 4-year, $160 million deal. Does this make Dak long-term in Dallas? Was this an overpaid deal? We know this $160 million for this 4 years is more than Romo made in Dallas his whole career. So did they overpay or did they pay just right? And will Dallas take over the NFC East? We'll start with you, Brandon.
Well, first off, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, Dallas actually put the franchise tag on Dak, and that means he cannot be franchise tag next year. And this is or when he becomes a free agent after this deal, I'm not sure. After last year, I'm not sure if he's gonna be back to what he was. Yes, there have been players like Alex Smith who came back from worse injuries, and we saw what Alex Smith was able to do. But on the other side, Smith is old and he wasn't the same as he was before he got injured. And I don't think Dak Prescott is going to be the same after this injury. And I think this is not going to be the long-term deal. I think Dak is only going to be here for a couple of years, and I think that may be it for him. Jason?
I'm going to disagree here. I think Dak Prescott is the future quarterback in Dallas. I mean, he has so much potential. Yes, he had that gruesome injury, but guess what? He's only been in the league one more year than Patrick Mahomes. He still has plenty of time to grow. And we saw how great of a start he got through last year. He finished in better stats than Cam Newton in those 4 3/4 of games, which is incredible stuff from Dak Prescott. And I think for Dallas, they're known as America's team. And Dak Prescott, he is a true cowboy. I think he can represent that. The contract, I feel like it's a high risk, high reward type of contract because Dak Prescott, if he does not come back 100%, it is a bad deal. But if Dak Prescott can maintain what he did in those first 4 to 5 weeks of the season when he's playing spectacular, throwing multiple 400+ yard games in a row with many, many touchdowns. In Dallas, I think they have a really good offense. It's just been, they just can't pull out the wins. In the season. They went I think like 6-10 last year, and they lost to the Giants in the last week of the year. And they still have a great offense. Zeke, he had a down year, touchdown and yard wise, but I think Zeke, with a healthy Dak, he seems a lot better with them. And their receiving core, it's only getting better. You got Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb's going to be a stud very soon, and Michael Gallup's great there. The offensive line was supposed to be really good. They got banged up with injury. Those guys are getting pretty old. They meant to start rebuilding that offensive line. Who knows? But their defense, atrocious, horrible. But we're talking about the quarterback. Dak Prescott is the future there. We know he can get the job done, but it's just a matter for the Cowboys if their defense can get the job done.
Yeah,
Another news that we've heard this week is that J.J. Watt is signing with Arizona on a 2-year, $31 million deal. We heard that Arizona was one of the teams offering him $17-18 million a year. One of our predictions was he was going to join his brothers in Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh has some cap space issues along with Green Bay, where he went to college. So that was some reasons why he didn't go with those teams. And Cam, I'm going to start with you. Do you think J.J. Watt going to Arizona is a good decision for the Cardinals? And did Arizona pay just right, or did they overpay?
No, I think this is a great deal for Arizona, and we know J.J. Watt's a stud. He's a great player. He can make those plays, and I think this contract's a pretty good contract. He'll be making about 15 to 16 million a year. I think that's pretty reasonable. He's a great player. I think this is great for Arizona. They got him and Chandler Jones now. They got a great defense. Hopefully, this can help bring their record up. Kyler Murray's got to be healthy. We saw at the end of last season he didn't seem to be very healthy. Wasn't making the throws. Didn't seem very good. But I think this is a great deal for Arizona. He's a great player. I know one player that doesn't like this is going to be Russell Wilson, though. He said he doesn't like getting sacked. Well, guess what? You just got another player that can lead the league in sacks in your own division now. And so Russ definitely not gonna like that. But I think this is a great year for Arizona, and I think this will help them in the so tough division they're in right now. So it's a great deal for them. We'll see how it works out, though. You never know until you see it on the field.
Yeah, I like what you brought up there about Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson, his offensive line with the Seahawks throughout the past few years has probably been the worst in the league, like bottom 5 pretty much every year. It's been horrible. Even look at their Madden ratings, they're like all below 70. And that's exactly why Russell Wilson has to make those throws under so much pressure. And now J.J. Watt's coming in here in Arizona, and we know J.J. Watt is one of the greatest defensive ends this game has ever seen. Obviously, he's not who he used to be because he's had many injuries throughout his career, but he still is a good value of his former superstar stuff. I think he is still a star in the NFL, but not a superstar. But the Cardinals, they got to bring back a lot of defensive free agents. Like I mentioned, we know they still have Chandler Jones, who has been phenomenal the past few years. But do have Hassan Reddick. He is a pending free agent. He had not 1, not 2, but 5 sacks in one game and some forced fumbles in that one game. I believe it was against the New York Giants. I'm not sure which game it was. They also got Patrick Peterson, who has been a great cornerback throughout his career. I'm pretty sure he is also a pending free agent. So they need to bring back that defensive core because if the Cardinals can bring back all those good defensive weapons, they're going to be dangerous. But the thing is with JJ Watt, um, with him not being, his former self, and I don't think he will return to that. I feel like him padding the stat sheet doesn't really bring the Cardinals anywhere because we know the Cardinals are going to get better on defense as their future goes on. For the Cardinals, I think they should be more focused on their offense because I don't think JJ Watt is a difference maker in the win column. Maybe statistically, maybe getting those defensive stops, but on the win column, I don't see it happening. I think it comes down to Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, and that Arizona offense. But I think it's a pretty good deal. I think he was slightly overpaid. But I mean, the fact that here's the thing: the fact he was offered 2 years, 31 million, and this was the offer he took. That means teams like the Steelers, the Packers, the Bills, the Titans, the Browns, they probably offered him deals a lot less than that. So he was clearly overpaid if no other team was willing to take that offer because out of all teams, he took Arizona because they had some good cap space. And the other teams, they were very stingy on this and they did not want to spend all that money on JJ Watt. So it shows that they've seen something in JJ Watt that has shown regression. No disrespect to one of the greatest defensive ends of all time, but he's not his former self. But good deal. Love it for the Cardinals, but we'll see how it happens. I don't think it'll translate into wins though.
I just want to add one more thing that brought up with Russell Wilson. We obviously know that he hates getting sacked, and I don't know if this offensive line is going to be able to protect him against someone like J.J. Watt when they have to face him twice a year. And this brings into question, do we see a trade? Will Russell Wilson leave Seattle and go somewhere like Chicago or the Raiders in Vegas? So something to put something to think about as as free agency comes along. But wonder if J.J. Watt signing with Arizona influences Russell Wilson's decision.
Okay, we're moving into our next discussion. We already mentioned all of the pre-free agency signings. Free agency starts on March 17th. We have some contract extensions go in. Levante David with the Bucks, Micah Hyde with the Bills, Taylor Heinicke with Washington, but most importantly, Tom Brady restructuring his contract, signing an extension with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The details are a bit messed up because they're trying to make his contract cancel out his other contract. But all I know is that he is a Buccaneer. He's locked up through 2022. So Tom Brady, it looks like he's playing 45 at the youngest, which is pretty insane to say. And I think it's a great deal for Tampa because they can commit to Tom Brady long term, unlike other guys who are old. Like Drew Brees is younger than Brady, and we're expecting him to announce his retirement very soon. But Tom Brady is a Buck for the next few years, which is very exciting. So, Brandon, how long do you expect the GOAT to play? Do you think he plays through that 2022 season or beyond that? Because he's clearly playing he's retiring at the earliest at the end of 2022 season.
Yeah, every year he decides to play and amazes me. At the age he is, as he's approaching 45, he is the oldest quarterback right now to play. And you look at him and what he's done, and he looks like he's in his prime. If it's late 20s, early 30s, you don't think he's 40s. And I think every year he comes out different. And last year we saw him start slow. Maybe it was from that January playoff game as his last game as a Patriot. He started slow as a Buccaneer, but he took the Buccaneers, a 5 seed, a wild card team, all the way to the Super Bowl and playing at home. Yes, you could say, oh, maybe he had an advantage playing at home. Well, that you can't say that about those 2 away games at New Orleans against the Saints and at Green Bay. I think Tom Brady brings back another Super Bowl, and I hate to say it, but I think the Pats' dynasty of going back-to-back is going to be over. We got a new crown going back-to-back. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cam, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay, they want to lock in Brady for next year. I think this is great for Tampa Bay. And I kind of want to see him win another one with Tampa Bay. We saw he could do it. Tampa Bay, this is a good deal for them. Brady's definitely on the end of his career, but like you said, he'll be playing. He'll be playing for a few more years at least. So Brady, he got the extension they were looking for. He's potentially be playing till 45, like you said. I think this is a good deal for Brady in the Bucks, and I kind of do expect them to win another Super Bowl and bring in one more. But I think he'll retire. He'll come back and retire as a Patriot. At least I hope he does. That's where he belongs. He belongs as a Patriot. But I think this is a good deal for Brady and the Bucks, and I hope to see him one more. I hope to see him win one more if the Patriots can't do it. So I'll send it back to you for our last NFL topic.
Yeah, just one note on the extension. I think Tom Brady will play through that contract. I'm optimistic that he'll restructure it to play past 45. Because I mean, with Tom Brady, he looks younger and younger every year, which is pretty insane, and he gets more talented every year, going deep into his 40s. And most people, like elite receivers, like Calvin Johnson, he retired very early into his career because of injuries. Same with Wes Welker, he didn't make it too far. But I'm happy with the extension. I'm expecting another Super Bowl to go to Tampa Bay. I don't think that he will re-sign with the Patriots to end his career. Unfortunately, we've seen a lot of guys sign one-day contracts, end their careers in all sports. Like Paul Pierce signed a one-day contract with the Celtics, and also just a few days ago, Thomas Davis Sr. and Greg Olson signing one-day contracts with the Carolina Panthers as they are retiring. But we're moving on from that. Notable players who got cut: Alex Smith, the comeback player of the year, after that gruesome injury. Well-deserved award. Maybe they should name the award after them. We can have that debate in a future episode. The Chiefs cut Schwartz and Fisher, Eric Fisher, Mitchell Schwartz. They were the Pro Bowl offensive linemen that were ruled out due to injury in the Super Bowl, and many believe that they were the reason that Patrick Mahomes under so much pressure in the Super Bowl. Janoris Jenkins cut by the Saints. Emmanuel Sanders also cut by the Saints. Greg Olson, like you mentioned, cut by the Seahawks, and he signed that one-day contract with the Panthers, as well as Thomas Davis. Malcolm Butler, cut by the Titans. Surprisingly, the Titans also cut their safety, Kenny Vaccaro. John Brown cut by the Buffalo Bills. The Bills have a great receiving core, and I think they can still thrive without John Brown, who is probably their number 3 option at the receiving spot. And then Kyle Van Noy cut by the Dolphins. Carlos Dunlap cut by the Seahawks, and Kyle Rudolph cut by the Vikings. A few franchise tags going in, the most notable ones being Chris Godwin by the Bucks, Allen Robinson by the Bears, Brandon Sheriff by the Washington Football Team, Leonard Williams by the Giants, Matt Milano. He signed a big extension with the Bills. I don't believe his franchise tag. He just signed a big deal. Justin Simmons by the Broncos, Marcus Williams by the Saints, and Marcus May by the Jets. There was a trade that went through. Trent Brown was dealt to the Patriots once again. Patriots also obtain a 2022 7th round pick from Vegas, and Vegas gets a 2022 5th round pick. If you guys have anything to add, you can just chime in, as we are running a bit short on time. But any thoughts on the Trent Brown trade?
I'll add quickly that I think the Patriots definitely won this trade because not only are they getting a good offensive line player, but they also received a pick, and all they had to give up was one pick next year. And you may think, what is a 7th rounder going to do? And it's going to come in handy next year because you can add that on to a trade with like a 1st rounder and a player, and you can add that 7th round because it's just an extra, and that gets more teams excited because the more draft picks, the more excited GMs get. So I think the Patriots won this, obviously, and he's going to be a big help in the offensive line. Cam, if you want to add anything, you can.
Yeah, I agree. I love seeing Trent Brown come back. I think he'll be great for the Patriots. Hopefully, maybe we can see them go get one of either Mitchell Schwartz or Eric Fisher off the Chiefs. Those are both great players. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but I think the Patriots definitely won this trade with the Raiders bringing back Trent Brown. So send it back to you, Jason.
One small note there: the Patriots are very stacked at offensive line. The thing is, Joe Thuney and David Andrews, they're both pending free agents, and I don't think that Joe Thuney and the Patriots, they're not coming to an agreement on a deal. Unfortunately, Joe Thuney was franchise tagged last year, and He could be franchise tag this year, but they're saying no. So now Joe Thuney is a free, unrestricted free agent out of the Patriots' control. I'm hoping Joe Thuney comes back because he was incredible in his tenure with the Patriots. I think they'll bring back David Andrews, and we still get Marcus Cannon coming back from injury. Of course, you have Isaiah Wynn, who's been great. Probably play left tackle. You can probably move Trent Brown to the right side. We'll see what happens there. Shaq Mason could be actually the right guard there, and then Marcus Cannon. He was coming off the he opted out because of COVID, and maybe he'll be a backup. And then Michael Onwenu, who is one of the best rookie offensive linemen from that 2020 draft class. The Patriots snagged him in the 6th round, and I'm very happy about that pick. And he's going to be probably the starting left guard if Joe Thuney does not return. So yeah, I do think Joe Thuney will be probably parting ways with the Patriots. Moving into some free agents. We have a lot of free agents on the list, but we're only going with a few of them. For quarterbacks, let's go with a few. Alex Smith, Jacoby Brissett, Jameis Winston, Mitch Trubisky, and Ryan Fitzpatrick. Running backs, you got a lot of old guys in there, but probably the most notable ones are Aaron Jones, Chris Carson, Le'Veon Bell, James White, Leonard Fournette, and Rex Burkhead, and also Adrian Peterson's a big one. Wide receivers got AB. I only see him going back to the Bucs if he goes to any team. Juju's there. He's unrestricted. Kenny Galladay, Corey Davis, Emmanuel Sanders, like we mentioned, Curtis Samuel, AJ Green, T.Y. Hilton. I think I mentioned Will Fuller already, and Corey Davis. A lot of good guys. Huge list, but saving time here. Tight ends, you got Gronk. I think he either goes back to the Bucs, maybe even the Patriots. You never know. Belichick could bring him back. We'll see what happens. Hunter Henry. He did not get franchise tag. Him and the Chargers are parting ways. We also got Jared Cook and Kyle Rudolph. Look at the O tackles. The biggest name here, I would say, is Trent Williams. He was on the Niners, I believe, last year. He's getting paid big money, and I feel like they could part ways. The 49ers do have a lot of free agents this year they need to bring back because, I mean, he was part of that team that, went to the Super Bowl and almost beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And got some good bets there, like Mitchell Schwartz, like you mentioned, Eric Fisher, Alejandro Villanueva, and Jason Peters. Guards, like you mentioned, Joe Thuney's there, Kevin Zeitler, another big there. Center, like you mentioned, David Andrews is there, but I think, he's going to go back to the Patriots. He also got Corey Linsley, Nick Martin, Alex Mack, and others. Look at the defense. There's some great defensive tackles there. You got Ndamukong Suh, who played a big role in that Bucs team. And then Jarrell Casey, Quan Short, and Patriots got some D tackles that are pending, Lawrence Guy and Adam Butler. Patriots also defensive ends that are free agents like John Simon, Deatrich Wise Jr. And also Jadeveon Clowney, he signed with the Titans last year. He signed a lot of one-year contracts. He was the number 1 overall pick not too long ago. And we don't know if he's left the hype because he's just changing teams. Also got Yannick Ngakoue, Ryan Kerrigan, Everson Griffin, and others. Also Trey Hendrickson, who was great when it came to sacks last year. Von Miller, we haven't heard much news on if the Denver Broncos will pick up his option, but they have till March 16th to do so. You also got Shaq Barrett, Melvin Ingram, Bud Dupree, Matt Judon. Son Reddick, like I mentioned, he'd be a big piece if the Cardinals can retain him. Kyle Van Noy was cut. Shaquem Griffin, the player with one arm, he's a free agent. We'll see what happens with him. He's a great player, even though he has a disability, so we do applaud Shaquem Griffin. Cornerback, I mentioned Malcolm Butler and Patrick Peterson are there. Richard Sherman also there. The 49ers more pending free agents. Josh Norman, Desmond Trufant, Norris Jenkins, AJ Boye. Patriots, Jason McCourty. We'll see if they retain him. Xavier Rhodes also there. Quinton Dunbar, Ronald Darby, and others. And we go on to safety. Former Patriot, Deron Harmon. We also got Jaleel Dye, Kareem Jackson, Ricardo Allen, Trey Boston, Jalen Mills, and Keanu Neal. So a lot more names there. We could probably go into 200, 300 free agents or whatever, but we're not. We're saving time here. Now we're getting into our bold predictions for free agency. I made 2. I'm going 1 offense, 1 defense. I said Aaron Jones to the Miami Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are in search of a running back, and I don't know if Green Bay can pay him. And then Quan Alexander, who was traded from San Fran to New Orleans. And I think he's going to go to the Seahawks. You guys can get into your bold predictions if you want to, but if we want to, we can get to that NHL or MLB recap.
Yeah, I'll add my thoughts quickly, and I think I mentioned this again. Pats need to get a wide receiver and a tight end. One wide receiver that stands out to me is Kenny Golladay, and a tight end that stands out to me is Hunter Henry or Jared Cook. I don't think Rob Gronkowski wants to come back. He retired because of Bill Belichick. He ain't coming back. Cam?
Yeah, I agree with you on the Gronk one. I don't think Gronk's gonna come back. But like you said, Patriots need a wide receiver and tight end. I got to see the Patriots going for either like someone like Corey Davis or Marvin Jones Galladay, like you said. And as a tight end, I hope they get Hunter Henry. But if not, Jonnu Smith's also available, so I could see them either going for Jonnu Smith or something like that as well. So I'll send it back to Jason, since we are not doing our NHL and MLB updates.
Yeah, so no NHL MLB updates today, but the both those seasons, NHL is in the regular season, MLB starting spring training, some acquisitions going on. We're not getting into that. We do have the March Madness tournament just starting up very soon. I'm not sure about the bracket. Maybe we'll look at the bracket in a future episode, but we'll see what happens. Brandon, you have something to add?
Yeah, so if you're paying attention to the NCAA tournament, today and tomorrow is the finals. And besides most conferences, the winner gets an automatic bid. We have had some unfortunate news. Duke, Kansas City, and I think it's Virginia all had to leave their respective conference tournaments due to COVID in their organization facilities. So that's unfortunate for those teams. And Selection Sunday, you can watch on CBS at 6:30. And the first four games that those teams that have to play a game before they make it into the bracket of 68, that starts Thursday at 4 p.m. So it's always exciting in March. All those upsets happen. It's March Madness time. We'll get into a little bit about that later. But we that's gonna wrap it up for episode 21. Don't forget, follow us on Instagram. You can find us on cbj.sports. And that's it. Thank you for watching episode 21.